Massive news as the largest data breach in the history of the United States just took place. Hackers have reportedly released sensitive personal data, including the social security numbers of 2.7 billion people. This affects everyone. If people weren't taking precautions before, this is a 5-alarm wake-up call. What are the ramifications of this for everyday citizens? How is this possible? How can you and your family protect yourselves? And how does Bitcoin fix this? Well, strap in because we're about to break this down with the Bitcoin cybersecurity expert with 35 years of IT experience. Let's get it. Tony, welcome to the show. So happy for you to be here. All right, so let's just jump into this because I know you are in a hurry. You probably got a lot of things to deal with after this. When this occurred, what was your first reaction and why does this matter?
When this happened, I was expecting it. It was just like a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. You know, all these centralized honeypots of information, they're every hacker's dream. I mean, this is why, we push so heavily against, the centralized organization of so much data in one place, because you don't know if the people in charge of this information are actually protecting it the way they're supposed to. You're just relying, on their goodwill or their brand name, thinking, that, you sent them their information. They're supposed to be regulated. These are supposed to be people that are on top of their game, and you just go with that until something catastrophic like this happens, and then you realize that everything about you is on the dark web, and now you have a big potential problem to deal with. And this is a recurring problem that nobody seems to want to address and blindly complies with. The centralized collection of information, that was put into place, known as KYC. That wasn't put into place for anybody's protection. This was, it's a purely surveillance and control mechanism. And I think a lot more folks are starting to awake to that fact as more and more of these as these hacks happen. Now, how this specific one took place, it's anybody's guess at this point. There isn't enough information out there to shed light on this. But I would assume, just from basic past experience, that when something so big occurs, there's usually insider help involved, because unless the network security protocols are so old at that institution and they haven't been visited or audited in such a long time, it would be much quicker and much more efficient to have a disgruntled employee or someone on the inside just plug in something that would open up a hole in the firewall into the network and let someone from the outside in within seconds. This is usually how these big hacks take place. This is how SIM swaps occurs. All these big problems that we're seeing, hack related, they fall a lot, in line with that type of story.
Now, looking at this, what are the ramifications for just the normal citizen after this? Because, Social Security, now that's supposed to verify people's identities all over the place. That's completely an obsolete thing now. So what happened here? How was it possible? Are they trying to push people in a certain direction, as you said? And we've heard this before. Abraham Lincoln even said, America would never die from an invasion or anything like that. It would come from the inside. So I think that's kind of interesting. What are your thoughts, Tony?
Well, it's hard to speculate exactly, what was the reason behind this. It could be an insider job. I don't put that, I don't throw that out at all. But like I said, the ramifications of this could be severe, identity theft, falsifying passports, all that type of things, people, living another life under somebody else's name. And then, you discover that, somebody has rented an apartment, in your name in another city, or is having another life spending, a whole bunch of things on credit cards that, are in your name. And now that all of a sudden you're responsible for them. And so how do you go and prove that it wasn't you when it was in fact everything about you that was used to get to that point in the first place? It's a big problem. If this is something that's done on the inside, the motives behind it are yet to be seen. But what I can tell you is that they're usually not good. If they're supposed to push you in the direction of a digital ID, so to speak, to protect you against this because there's better control, I wouldn't buy it. Anything that goes in the direction of a digital ID should be avoided at all costs, in my opinion, because, again, when you centralize too much power in one location or in the hands of a limited group of individuals, that power will get abused eventually. And when it does, it's the consumer, it's the people, it's you and me that are kicked to the curb and have to deal with the consequences and ramifications of that. We don't want to live in a dystopian world. We are definitely headed towards one if this nonsense is not stopped. If this thing continues to accelerate, before you know it, we'll be all stuck in a system that, we have no way out of.
Awesome, Tony. Now, your love for Bitcoin came obviously for instances like this, for purposes and reasons like this. With all this happening, how do people protect themselves, and how does Bitcoin fix this?
Well, people need to unlearn the lies, that you've been fed since the day you were born, thinking, that the world works a certain way and that's just how it is. It's not. The first step to understanding all this is, really focusing on the money aspect. The money that you think has value does not have value, and it doesn't even belong to you. The fact that you're putting it in a bank controlled by someone else who thinks he has the authority to tell you what you can and cannot do with it, that should be your biggest red flag. And the whole fiat system was created on that Ponzi. It was a system created to steal, censor, and control, nothing more. And for the first time in the history of mankind, we have an option now to opt out, and that is Bitcoin. But because it's new and because it's technology, we have to learn how to use it. It's not something that's, abundantly clear to everyone. It's technology, and most people aren't comfortable in that world. But it's not hard. All you need is a good teacher to show you, teach you the ropes. And this is what we do at the Bitcoin Way. We remove the anxiety, all the hurdles, all the, the unknowns behind the tech. We handhold everybody through that process so that at the end of the day, every individual is their own bank. Like, you are literally now the head of security. The funds are 100% in your control. No one can threaten you about them. No one can sanction them. No one can take them away from you. Nobody can steal them from you. None of that is possible. The only person who can lose the funds when they're in your control is you, by just not following simple guidelines, and also that all these things can easily be avoided. So when it comes to Bitcoin, I still see a lot of bad practices out there, trusting third-party institutions with KYC information, under the illusion of, it's going to be more safe. And especially with regards to my family after I die, the inheritance planning, it's good to have a company out there that'll help through the process. But what you don't realize is that, when you give up your information to these companies, you're susceptible to the same hack that just happened recently. If these folks, somebody attacks them, it's for a specific purpose. It's because the perpetrator knows what they're after. And if your name is on a database right now that contains everything about you, including how much Bitcoin you want or you own, which is now, the world's most valuable asset, well, now you have a big problem that you have to deal with potentially, because now they know who you are and where to find you, and how that, what that translates into afterwards is anyone's guess. So there are ways to avoid this. And that's by, becoming 100% private with regards to everything that you do. You need to stop trusting third-party institutions, because by doing that, you are introducing counterparty risk to yourself. You have no control over these institutions. You don't know what they do with the data. You don't know even if they care about the data that they're collecting about you. You have no way of auditing this. The only thing you have is based on their good words and their, their marketing and their advertising. But as, time and time again that we've seen, it's been failure after failure after failure. And a lot of people are going to continue to get hurt unless, they stop repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And hopefully with enough education and good guidances, more people will adopt, the new lifestyle, the Bitcoin way, which is opting out of this broken and corrupt system and learning the tools to live a sovereign and free life. Because once you get to that stage, it's remarkably empowering. The becoming unconfiscatable, doing what you want, when you want, not requiring anybody's permission is truly something to be experienced. And once you do, there's no going back.
Man, thank you so much for joining us today, Tony. And we were talking about this. It looks like the fourth turning is starting to accelerate. There's like catastrophe after catastrophe, along with the debt cycle and those things going on. So we can see where these things are going. If you know the thens, the if happens, and you can kind of make some prognostications there. You come to simply to get the why Bitcoin. You go to the Bitcoin Way to learn how to Bitcoin. And we are so thankful to have Tony and the Bitcoin Way as sponsors, helping educate people the key first principles of Bitcoin, following best practices, and helping everyone become a sovereign individual, because the separation of money and state has never been more necessary than ever. We have to get this done. I thank you again, Tony. And if you have any closing comments, please share those. And then Godspeed.
If you guys haven't considered Bitcoin, now is the time to do it. We are living in historic times, man. And as you clearly stated, this is the fourth turning in real time. No one's coming to save you. If you don't take the measures to protect yourself and your family, you are unfortunately going to sink with the ship. And this is not a movie you want to watch. So please do the work. It's not hard. If you have questions, come and ask. We're always here, readily and happily, available to assist anyone that requires it, regardless of your technical background. And there are no stupid questions. So don't feel weird about that. Ask away. We're here to assist every step of the way.
Man, Tony, thanks for coming in and breaking it down for us. We appreciate you so much. And man, just look forward to talking to you next time. Always learn something and always get just fucking fired up when I hear you go, man. Thanks
Likewise,
again.
Rustin. Thank you for having me, bro.
Thanks, brother. Man, what a show. Shout outs to Tony and the Bitcoin Way. And if you guys are looking to get started on your road to becoming a sovereign individual, you can use that link below in the show notes. Hey, hope you guys like this one. Be sure to like, subscribe, share the Sound Money Gospel. Give us a pat. In case you missed it, you may want to check this out because an astrophysicist apparently thinks Bitcoin's going to $100 trillion market cap. As the fourth turning is accelerating, while it may be scary, it is incredibly bullish for Bitcoin. Time to batten down the hatches. Hey, I'll catch you all next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.